Hey, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Here we go. Let me get all situated here. As promised, and looky here, we are actually like on time. We're doing this on the right day, all the things. I'm just trying to make sure that I'll be able to see your comments if you jump in and leave a comment. I'm going to give just a minute to see if anyone joins us. I know I do these at an odd time, but I pick up my kids from school and I like to be there for that. I hope you guys tune into this one and the next few because we got some exciting things coming up like Self-Care February. That's starting very, very soon. The Winter Detox is starting very, very soon. You can get those details at audreychristie.com/winter detox. I hope you guys will check that out. So if you are new here, hi. If I'm just popping up in your newsfeed and you're like, who the heck is that? I'm Audrey Christie. I'm a holistic wellness practitioner and wellness educator. I've got training in all sorts of things: homeopathics, traditional allopathic medicine, functional wellness, crystal healing, energetic medicine, all sorts of different things that I put together to help people heal from the roots up and the inside out. I help individuals and families and really to transform sort of their whole wellness outlook. Okay, so how to defeat things naturally, how to avoid spending all your time in the doctor's office. And this time of year, man, this time of year is tough for a lot of people. So on average, people get between 10 and 12 viral infections a year. You definitely don't want to be average on this one. Hey, Rachel. So you definitely don't want to be average on this one. I can't imagine having one or all four of our family members sick every single month. There are so many things that can be done to prevent this from happening. And really in this format, in this time frame, even in the full episode that launches on Friday, there isn't enough time to cover all the things, right? But I did the best I could to get to the really, really important stuff. So this time of year, I'm frequently asked some version of how can I keep from getting sick this winter? How can I keep my kids from getting sick? Or it's flu season. Y'all know how I feel about the season of the flu. Or what natural remedy can I give my kid, myself, my spouse for cough, cold, virus, whatever? And I get it. It's a big balancing act between convenience and wellness. A lot of times we sort of, go back and forth on that line. And I really feel like each and every family should have a cough and cold or overall virus prevention strategy, a wellness strategy, if you will, that works for the entire family rather than having the things for little Billy and the things for the other little one and the things for mom and dad. It really can be done on a family basis. And there's a few different things to consider. And for this part of it, we're going to talk about things in the mode of prevention, right? Because that's always the best medicine. And then I'll tell you about sort of what to have in your medicine cabinet. So the first thing is to virus-proof your nutrition. Hippocrates, I think said, make food thy medicine and medicine thy food. And when I'm bombarded with questions about what can I take for blank, it always starts with the nutrition that you put in your body. We eat about 2,000 pounds of food per year for adults. And so the bulk of what makes up your cells, the good and the bad and the indifferent, the bulk of what makes up your immune system is the nutrition that you put in your mouth. Every illness, whether it's chronic, like a recurring, it happens over and over again, whether it's acute, so it comes quickly and goes, whether it's bacterial or viral, all of it starts and ends with inflammation. And that's why I'm always talking about how to, simple and sustainable ways really, to reduce the inflammation in your diet. It's one of the reasons why I host the seasonal online detoxes, because those are good resets for the entire family. And also shows people that food that tastes good doesn't have to be hard or cost prohibitive. And so there are a few simple things you can do to adjust your family's nutrition towards anti or non-inflammatory. The first thing is to eat 5 to 8 servings of brightly colored fruits and vegetables a day. And the cool thing is, I get it. If you, especially kids and some adults too, if you're like, nope, you can't have that, then they just want it more. And they beat you down with the, oh, mom, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have it? They beat you down with it, right? And I get it. That happens with adults too. If you were to put me on a diet and say, you can't have chocolate, then that would be all that I thought about, right? And chocolate's a bad example because it's not bad for you. But the cool thing is when you eat 5 to 8 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and that goes for kids and adults, it's just the serving size that's different. you crowd out the bad rather than restrict it. If you're eating 5 to 8 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, chances are you're not hungry for the fruit roll-up. Are those even still a thing? Fruit roll-up or the gummy bears or whatever that is. So eat 5 to 8 servings. So have fruit and vegetables with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Have them available as snacks. Have them cut up in the fridge. Buy them pre-made if you need to. And be sure and go organic when possible. And I get it, sometimes organic can be cost prohibitive, but not always. It's as true if you're buying seasonal fresh produce that you can find things that are the same or even less than conventional produce. So it can be a savings. The environmental, that sounded real country, y'all. The Environmental Working Group's website has the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 to sort of help you sort out where the priority should be with organic fruits and vegetables. For example, I would not ever buy non-organic or conventional strawberries, and I use that example a lot. If it's not strawberry season, if they don't have organic strawberries on sale, Costco usually has them the cheapest, by the way, then I'm not buying them. So on the other hand, I'm not spending the extra 5 to 10 cents a pound on organic bananas, because in our house, we don't eat the peel. Occasionally we'll use the peel for something and I'll buy the organic bananas, but it's not as important with bananas. The second thing is to eliminate processed foods, artificial dyes, and sweeteners. And it seems like a lot, but you will save a lot of time and money doing this. If you can't eliminate all 3, just start where you're at. See what you can reduce, see what you can eliminate. But even if you can just give up sodas, sweet drinks, Gatorade, etc., that's a huge savings for your body in the junk food department. You'll also find that if you take like a fruit by the foot versus eating an apple, the apple may be about 10 cents more per serving, but the satisfaction level, so the length of time it quenches the hunger, is much longer. So yeah, it's, I don't even know, I'm going to say $10 to make the math easy for 48 fruit by the foots, but it's, $5 for 12 apples. Well, yeah, the apples are more per apple, but the nutrition value, the amount of apples you have to eat is a lot lower to achieve satisfaction. So it's really not cost prohibitive in that way. The third thing under nutrition is to limit cow's milk and dairy. So I've said this before, dairy is inflammatory for all the people, okay? Now, I understand not everyone is inflamed enough to give dairy up, but if you can reduce your dairy intake, there are lots of good seed, nut, and pea milk varieties on the market that you can replace the dairy in your cooking, for example. And then if you're replacing the dairy in your day-to-day cooking, or maybe in your coffee in the morning, and you're only having the occasional good quality cheese on a burger or on a salad, then that will save you big time in the inflammation department. Healthy fats, you want to eat plenty of healthy fats. That's another good way to push out the bad. So increasing stuff that is full of good fats, like fish, eggs, nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oils, all good things. Another is fermented foods, and I'll talk more about that with probiotics. But you can weave probiotics into your daily meals with things like sauerkraut. My kids don't really like sauerkraut, to be honest, but my husband and I do, so that might be an adult thing. Pickles, and really any pickled vegetable will do. Be careful. If you follow me on Instagram, then you might have seen I do comparisons at the grocery store sometimes. And so the pickle jar with the lime green pickles in it, and then the pickle jar with like the regular looking pickles, they're both the exact same price. Only the regular looking pickles is not full of artificial dyes. Little swaps like that make a big difference, especially for little kids. Weave fermented foods into your daily life, into your daily meals. Kimchi is another great one. And then so is kombucha. And kombucha is a really good swap for sodas. And so often I'll wean clients off of soda by using kombucha. And they even make kombucha or soda flavored kombucha to help ease that transition. So kombucha can be a little bit expensive. Usually I can find it around town and I live in North Texas, so usually I can find it around town for $2 to $3 a jar, and it comes out to about $1.50, $2 a serving. But You can make kombucha for 5 to 10 cents a serving. That's what I did here. I like to drink my kombucha in wine glasses because it feels fancy. But that's what I did here. And I have a class on how to do that, and I can link that below if anyone else is interested in that. So that covers kind of the nutrition aspect. If you've got little bitties, don't even get them started. Like if they're on formula or breast milk, go straight to the good stuff. Don't even get them started on all that inflammatory foods, especially if they are in some sort of childcare or around other children. Second thing is virus proofing with supplements, or sometimes I like to call them micronutrients. This is what I'm asked about most frequently. What can I take to help with blank? Runny nose, cough and cold, the flu, blah, blah, blah. And although there are lots of things you can take, and we could go on and on about natural remedies for individual symptoms and sets of symptoms, you know, almost every supplement works better if you've already got a good nutrition base from which to start. So many traditional practitioners recommend a daily multivitamin. Most often, especially if you're eating a fairly balanced diet, a daily multivitamin is just not necessary. In fact, you're really just creating expensive pee. So if you're taking Centrum or any of those other daily multivitamins, save your 12 bucks and spend that on something better. What's better for you to take is omega-3 fatty acids, and this goes for kids and adults, right? If your kids are old enough to swallow pills, then you only have to buy 1 bottle. So omega-3 fatty acids help to reduce inflammation. They do all sorts of good stuff for our brains. And depending on the age and size of the person or child you're dealing with, your dose may be as low as 500 milligrams. For adults, you're probably going to cap out right around 5,000 milligrams. My kids, 10 and 8, they take around 3,000 milligrams a day. I take closer to 5,000 milligrams a day. But each person is different. There's a way that you can test to see if you have the right amount, especially for kiddos. If they weigh less than 100 pounds, start out with the 500 milligram, and then every 3 days, add a 500 milligram until they have loose stools, and then back off a dose. And there's your perfect dose of omega-3s for that kiddo. For kids, it's helpful to use liquid omega-3s because you can get a higher dose without, I mean, for the dose that I'm talking about, hey Cheyenne, most of the time you'd have to take, you know, like a fistful of the gummies, and it's just not cost effective. So there is a Barlean's liquid omega-3, and that's really great for kids, and it tastes like key lime pie. The second thing is vitamin D3, and this is really important for adults and kiddos. It's a really important part of protecting your body via the immune system, especially important during the fall and winter months, and go figure, that's the time where we get the least vitamin D because it comes from sunlight. Kids and adults in general, even in the summer, don't spend nearly enough time in the sun. Even when we do, we often cover ourselves with sunscreen, or it's through a window, you know, from the outside or the car window. So the solution during the fall and winter months is to supplement with vitamin D3 for kiddos and adults. You want somewhere between 800 to 2,000 milligrams. Now, if you are one of my clients, then you might be on more than that, and there's a reason for that. But just for general public knowledge, between 800 and 2,000 milligrams, that's from the kiddo dose all the way up to the adult dose every single day, especially during the fall and winter months. And adults, you want to make sure you have a vitamin D3 plus K2 formula, because that K2 is important for your cardiac health, so you don't drive up your cholesterol, for example, unnecessarily. Excuse me while I take a drink. The third thing for supplements, right? We're getting rid of the multivitamins. You don't need any more of those. Good Lord, your kids don't need Flintstone vitamins. Stop with all that. Probiotics. Interestingly, drinking the kombucha, which is a living probiotic, but drinking kombucha is not enough. Probiotics are so important for everyone, including infants, okay? Recommended daily dosages vary widely. Most of us agree that 1 to 10 billion CFU for infants, right? So itty bitty babies might be more like 2 billion CFUs. Rachel asked, what is the Omega brand again that tastes like lime? I'm going to put it in the comments, Rachel. It's Barlean's. And they have lots of different flavors. The lemon's kind of iffy. The orange is kind of iffy. My kids really like the key lime. Now they swallow pills, so they're mad they don't get it. Can K2 be taken with cholesterol medication? Yes, Tara, it can. So the Barleans, you can find it at Sprouts. You can find it on Amazon. I like to find it and stock up at Sprouts when they have the 30% off their supplements coupons. You're welcome. So probiotics, so even infants, right? So my girls started on probiotics when they were both roughly 1 to 2 months old. 10 to 20 billion CFUs for slightly older children, and then 30 to 50 billion CFUs for adults. And that's your standard dose. Everyone has some level of gut dysbiosis or leaky gut. So that's just sort of your maintenance dose. If you're, detoxing or doing any number of different things, that dose can be higher or lower. But for infants, 1 to 10 billion, kiddos, 10 to 20 billion, adults, 30 to 50 billion. Now, something to note, I always talk about, drinking kombucha or eating lots of sauerkraut is not a replacement for taking probiotics. Well, the same goes the other way too. It's also, you can't take you could take the probiotics and not eat any fermented foods, but you do get a benefit of having the fiber and the sugars that are in the fermented foods into your body along with taking a probiotic. We know, our health begins in our gut, and you guys have heard me preach this before. It's not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. I've seen lots and lots of people with, things like anxiety that started creeping up over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and simply fixing their gut reduces that by about 50%. Okay, so far we've talked about nutrition. We've talked about micronutrition or supplements. The third thing is water, okay? So even being mildly dehydrated, and mildly dehydrated is the type of dehydration that happens when you sleep for 12 hours, right? So if you go to bed at 8, you get up at 8 in the morning, when you wake up, you're mildly dehydrated. But for both kids and adults, that weakens the immune system. So, depending on where you are in your family's wellness and nutrition journey, it's possible that your child doesn't have a taste for regular water, or even you maybe as an adult don't have a very good taste for regular water, but it's really important that you develop one. You can try making some spa water. So spa water, I've only been to one spa where they actually had this kind of water. Usually they give you a bottled water, but you can add fruits, berries, cucumbers, any of those things to water to make it more palatable. And over time, it'll help you develop a taste for plain water. And for kids, if you let them pick the fruit to be in it, usually they're more apt to try something that they've created. You can also put herbs in it too. And not, we're going to talk about bathroom stuff again. That's twice in one Wellness Wednesday, we're going to talk about bathroom stuff. But most people need about 100 ounces of water a day. Kids that are less than 100 pounds, even adults that are 100 pounds, right around the 100-pound mark or less, need at least 50% of their body weight. So if they weighed 100 pounds, they need 50 ounces, for example. And that's the low end, right? So we're not playing any sports, we're not getting sweaty, we're not doing any of that stuff. So a good way to check and see, and if your kids are anything like my kids, they never flush the toilet, so you can always tell if they're dehydrated. But for adults and kids too, your urine should be plentiful, it should be odor-free, and it should be pale, pale yellow. Tara says literally raise grandkids on water intake. They don't like juice at all. That's awesome, Tara. It's a hard thing to do because I tell you what, even if you're not giving it at home, they get it at school. Our stinking cafeteria serves slushies as a fruit group. So luckily my kids don't do food dyes, so it's off the table for them. But it drives me nuts to see other kids doing it. So virus proofing with water. The next thing is virus proofing with hygiene. I'm not a fan of hand sanitizer for lots of reasons. It's a hormone disruptor. I don't even let my kids use it. We don't keep it in the house. But I do encourage hand washing. Really important after going to the restroom, of course. Being in public places, that goes for kids and adults. So pushing a grocery cart, think about that. It's important to do before and after meals. And the same hygiene, the same little hygiene rules that we tell our kids you should take part in yourself as an adult. And then the second part of that, and this is easier said than done because I'm constantly touching my face, is keeping your hands off your face. You're just bringing those germs up to all the orifices that it can get into your body, right? Rachel says our school hands out candy for everything. It drives me crazy. Me too. Ours does the same thing. They get candy for good behavior and all these things. It's, I'm like, can we get a sticker, maybe a pencil, bookmark? I don't know. The next part of virus proofing your family is virus proofing with sleep. Sleep is so stinking important. It drives me nuts when my kids come home and they're like, oh my gosh, our friends, my friend's parents let them stay up till midnight last night, or we went to a sleepover 3 nights in a row and stayed up till 2 a.m., all those sort of things. Sleep is so important, and it's important for the entire family. So I have a few rules. No TVs in bedrooms. My kids hate that rules. No screens 2 hours before bed. Goes for everybody. Read a book. Make sure the rooms are cold and dark. You got to have cold and dark. And so if your kiddo needs a light, like one of my children need a light at night, so I let them fall asleep and then I go turn the light off because it can disrupt sleep during their sleep-wake cycles. And my room's completely dark. We don't even have an alarm clock light. The next thing is routine. So you want to have a really, really good sleep routine. So try to get to bed around the same time every night and wake up around the same time on weekends. I get up during the week between 4 and 5 in the morning. Guess what? On the weekends, I get up between 4 and 5 in the morning. And it's very rare that I push beyond that point because I know it'll mess me up the rest of the week, right? And once your sleep gets messed up, that's a lot of times that's the first step. I can trace back the number of times that I've gotten sick in the last few years to, okay, well, Thursday night I stayed out late and I didn't sleep good. And then Friday night, I did this, that, and the other. I went out to dinner and didn't eat well, ate some inflammatory stuff. And usually it's a cascade like that. Hey, Arwen, new mama in the house. So the next thing, virus-proof your family, is movement. Movement is so important. Everyone needs to move at least an hour a day. Doesn't have to be all at the same time. You don't have to get like new kicks and this awesome new, workout gear and like drive 20 minutes to the gym. It doesn't need to be all of those things. It really needs to be outdoors whenever possible. Right now it's cold and the wind's blowing about 30 miles an hour. So mine's going to be in the house today. But actually I taught yoga this morning. So those of you who are local, I teach yoga every Wednesday morning at the Lake Cities Library at 9 a.m. You should come check it out. It's a $5 suggested donation, but don't let money stop you. The idea is to bring yoga to the community, and do all that kind of stuff. So if you're local, join me. So I did do that this morning. So there's my hour. I taught an hour of yoga. But guys, movement is so important, especially for kids. They sit at a desk all day long at school. Some schools, they don't even get a good recess, or maybe it was cold and windy outside and they didn't go outside at all. But there are no guidelines really for movement or movement that's necessary other than just to do it. You don't have to get your heart rate to a certain level. You don't have to lift weights or, there's no frame of it. So let go of all that kind of stuff and get some movement. The very last thing I'm going to talk about is stress management, okay? And this is for adults and kids too. With all the activities and schoolwork and structure that our children have every single day, stress management is not just for adults anymore. It's for kids too. It's for the entire household. So increased stress weakens the immune system. You can make your family more vulnerable for catching viruses by having increased stress. It's really, kids as young as 4 and 5 years old can learn to meditate. They can learn meditative practices. And if it doesn't work for them, you might just not have found the right one. So if you need suggestions, I have one really chill kid and one really zen, like one really chill kid and one really wound up kid. So they both need different types of meditation. They both respond to different types of meditation. So you can teach them really, really young to start managing their stress, to manage anxiety, to de-stress, to practice breathing techniques, practice yoga even. The only caveat is, and I would like to say there's an age where you don't have to remind them to do it, but so far we're up to 10, and we still have to remind them to do it. But it's also, having to remind your kids is a good practice to have. It's a good reminder for you as an adult to be meditating once or twice a day and managing your stress. I have a cheat sheet of what to have on hand in your medicine cabinet. It would be an entire textbook if I put the thing, take this for strep, take this for an ear infection, take this for that. But I have a download sheet, and I'll put the link in the comments here for the medicine cabinet. This, again, has not been all-inclusive. There are so many things. Essential oils play a big part in our wellness routine. We turn on the diffusers every morning. We change them out frequently depending on, where we want to be energetically, all that good stuff. And the bottom line, guys, is that sometimes viruses get us, we do all the right things, and we just end up with this combination of weak areas or deficits, and we end up getting sick, or a child gets sick. But don't sweat it if you catch it early. If you take steps to nip it in the bud early, then you can shorten the duration, shorten the length, by just having a few things on hand. And rather than go into all of them, I put the download here. Arwen says decrease viral with newborn daycare. So I would definitely do probiotics with newborn daycare, Arwen. That's going to be really, really important to get that immune system kicked off right. And I don't know if that goes for both, breastfed and bottle-fed babies. So to wrap it up, I'll review real quick. Nutrition, focus on adding up the good, amping up the good, increasing the good. The bad will naturally work itself out. The bad, I hate to call it bad, but the less than good, the not so nourishing things. So amp up the good to push out the things that are less nourishing. Supplements, start with a good base. Download the Natural Viral Remedy Medicine Cabinet for more things to have on hand. Water, drink all the water, drink it all, honestly. Hygiene, get back to the good old-fashioned hand washing. Throw away the sanitizer. Sleep, make sure everyone has good sleep habits and gets to sleep on time. Movement, an hour of play a day. Doesn't have to look anything. Outside and barefoot, bonus points, even though it's cold. And then manage stress. And there are many ways to do this. Lots of free resources out there, and I'm happy to help. But you can avoid being average Joe and getting 10 to 12 viruses a year, or your kiddo having 10 to 12 viruses a year. So I encourage you to do so. I'm off to pick up my kiddos and go check out my new office space. So more on that soon. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Be well.